Hey everyone, I am Amy V. Cooper. I'm a photography business consultant, and today I'm with an incredible photographer based out of Houston, Amy Scott, and we are going to show you how we do a virtual online portfolio review. So Amy and I have worked together in the past, but we're going to pretend like we just met and we're having a review together. And what all these different reviews with different organizations like APA, ASMP, Art of Freelance, Portfolio, Palm Springs Portfolio Review are all telling the photographers to do different things. So some of them are saying prepare a PDF and the photographer will navigate and flip through the photos. And some are saying share a link. So what Amy and I are doing is we're going to try sharing the link. So Amy has sent me a link to a portfolio that she created, and I am going to open that link and she is going to let me drive. So Amy, thank you so much for doing this with me, and let's pretend like we're just saying hello. So hello, I'm Amy
Hi.
Cooper.
Hi, I'm Amy Scott. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Tell me about you.
So I am an agricultural and food photographer. I do editorial and commercial advertising work. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. And the story behind my work is I was actually a vegetable farmer for many, many years. And I became so passionate about telling the stories of farmers that I actually transitioned to photography, and I wanted to start approaching the stories that I knew and the people I knew really well, and be able to sort of provide a new vantage point. And I think that I've been able to do that. So, you know, as we go through this, you'll see some of this is photo documentary work, some of it's advertising, so you can see the different ways that plays out.
Great. All right, I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen. And I am just going to share my browser. Here we go. Okay. And
I don't see it shared yet.
how about now?
No, not yet.
See, we're going to have technical difficulty. Well, I can see it. Let me try one more time. How about now?
No, but this happens to me sometimes. Let's see. You know what? No, I think I'm hiding something. I think it's my fault. Here we go. I found it. I have lost mine. I'm sorry. Well, don't do that, people.
Yeah, so it's great to practice with someone else ahead of time, which I'm sure you did, Amy. But all right, so I wonder if I can get this to go full screen. There we go. All right, so I am full screen now. And here we go.
So as we were saying, this is a combination of different types of work. It's photo documentary and commercial work. And even though you'll see a variety of styles of lighting, but I try to keep them as consistent as possible. So whether it's natural or strobes, I do like to have it generally have a brighter feeling.
So what kind of feedback are you looking for from me today?
So I'm most interested right now, the majority of my clients are regional, and I am really hoping that I can make the transition to more national brands. So as I meet with folks, my main interest is finding if people are seeing any weaknesses, or perhaps absences in my portfolio, something that would really help, you know, demonstrate the technique and the skills that I have to get me to that next level and make me seem like a stronger candidate for that type of work.
Mm-hmm. And can you give me some examples of the type of clients that you want to be working with?
So I've worked with brands like smaller local brands of pasta. So I feel like I would be a decent candidate for larger ones like Barillo. I'm looking to get connected with larger editorial work. I've done stuff here in Houston, but hoping to make connections with, Food and Wine and, just things with a broader appeal.
So when I'm doing reviews, I like to kind of go through pretty quickly and then I like to back up and go again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what I'm going to do here. And I have to say, I really feel like you kind of nailed this flow.
Nice.
And I do like flipping through this book. All right, so I'm going to back up. How many pages would you say are in here?
I think it's about 50. So just shy of that, since there are some images that go across 2 pages. But I've found that this, I know this is getting meta, we're supposed to be reviewing, but I find that it helps so much to have this pace it instead of just looking at a website.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do like flipping through. I feel like, it is looking like, or it feels like I'm flipping through a portfolio, a printed portfolio. So I do like that. I'm not sure if, because your work is horizontal, I'm kind of wanting to see it a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that everything is really clean, the way it's spaced and aligned. And I love how you kind of flow in and out of different areas. Usually I want to see everything together, but I think you did such a fantastic job with the color flow that it's really seamless how you go from, agriculture into something like this, like a tabletop.
Yeah, and that, part of that is because I want prospective clients to be able to see that I can do both of those stories. And oftentimes the stories are connected. So some work that I've done is working with a rice company. So we did images in the field with the farmer, and then we did the style shoot of the product. And so I think that, yeah, keeping that, I want to keep those as closely married as possible.
That's great. And I think that's so important for editorial to show that you can do the full story. So, I mean, you really are doing farm to table,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't see a lot of food photographers doing. So I love that you have that flexibility. I love this image too. So I think gorgeous, consistent lighting throughout. I can tell that you have a signature style, that you're able to do all these different things. Beautiful flow of lighting here into the sunset. So as far as the portfolio review goes, I think this looks great. It was really easy to get into the link. I like that as the reviewer, I can drive, and I think you killed it, Amy. What do you think?
Oh. I feel, once I made this transition, I played around with a couple of different types. This website is Yumpu,
Mm-hmm.
Yumpu, and I had looked at Issuu and a couple of other places. This, I feel so much more confident going into a review with this. It's not a PDF, which can sometimes be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It loads fairly quickly, and it helps guide the conversation in a much more directed way than just looking at a website. So going into conversations with this, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I really am able to present like who I am and what I want them to see.
And you had mentioned earlier that you tried a few different magazine types. Do you want to talk about that process a little bit?
Yeah, and it really depends on what people are looking for and what their price point is. Issue is really polished and beautiful, but it can be really expensive.
Mm.
And I just did not feel like it was worth putting out. It's like $400 a year or something. Um, so Yumpu is free if you only have three on there, and they can be unlimited size. And that was an issue I was running into also, is I wanted to have large enough images that they're not pixelating if someone's looking at them on a large screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really large document that you're uploading to this. So there are more, and you can Google them, or I can share. Great. Essentially, the way I looked them up was platforms like Issuu, and there are tons and tons of options. And if people want clickable links and things like that, maybe something else is a better option if you want to direct people to a video or something else that's more interactive. But for me, this platform worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So we're kind of flipping back and forth between these two conversations, but as far as being reviewed, did you have any additional questions for me?
I think, well, it's great to hear that it's reading well and clean and smoothly, because I think that in the beginning I was getting feedback on sort of having not a totally smooth edit. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to know that that's reading well. Really, in these sorts of conversations, I'm looking for a connection. I'm looking for someone who's willing to get on if they're willing to like stay in touch, for me to reach out to them again. um, I ask if they can think of a client or somebody, if like there's an immediate thought that comes to mind with my style of photography that they think I should reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the conversations I bring up. um, but it totally depends on the person, and how comfortable they are sharing information, how connected they feel to me in the process.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's so important to research if that's the number one thing going into an online review, research who you're reviewing with. And since I'm a consultant, Amy probably didn't have as many questions for me as far as, my process of hiring. But if you were meeting with an editor for a magazine, your questions might be a little bit different. I think it's good to ask a lot of questions, and I think you did a great job preparing your portfolio because of the way that you had it, and the way that, because I'll tell you, earlier today I did a review with someone that was a PDF, and they were driving, and they had probably half as many images there, but it took a lot longer. So I think it's great if you can let the reviewer drive. So even if you are not set up to do that, if you have a link handy, um, like Amy does, I think it's great to have that so that you can offer that option to the reviewer in case they want to drive. Um, I think I think we went fairly smoothly. We had, a couple of hiccups, but that's to be expected, with both of us. The other thing is, I like at the beginning for the photographer to tell me what their intentions are for the review, and specifically what kind of feedback they're hoping to get from me. But if they don't, I'll prompt them and I'll ask them specifically what they're wanting to get out of that review. And then I tell people, I just wrote a blog this weekend about how to prepare for an online review. And one of the things that I said is prepare your environment, your mind, body, and your office. And I think you did a good job of showing up looking great. You don't have any distractions in your background. So that's great. And was there anything else you did to prepare for the meeting? Did you practice? Did you meditate? Did you go for a walk? What did you do?
um, I had already prepared the document, so I felt good about that. I try and always stop like at least 30 minutes before a review, and then I just like get away from the computer. I go and like make sure my hair's not crazy, because I'm just like hanging out at the house. And then I do some deep breaths and just try to like get inside my body again, because if I'm working or researching or whatever beforehand, I can be a little bit spazzy and not feel grounded and thoughtful about the questions I want to ask, or remember, the research I did for that person, or, the project they worked on that I really loved and want to make sure I mention, that sort of a thing.
That's great. And I think because I know your work so well and I've seen it before, I probably didn't ask you as many questions as I would have as if I were reviewing with someone newer. But I do see that you've taken so much care in the flow of that portfolio, and I think it really does read as a print book, which is exciting for me. Um, Anything else you want to say about it? Was there anything that you would want to do differently? Is there anything that's happened in other reviews that you want to share?
Something that I try to do is allow for there to be silence. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be chattery. Sometimes I get worried if it goes a little bit longer than I think I should. I think like, oh no, should I have another question for this moment? But generally speaking, I find if I just pause and let the other person move through the work, they generally have another comment, and I'd rather not be talking about things that aren't interesting or relevant to them.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of topics I always want to bring up, which is these are both advertising and photo documentary work that I do know how to use strobe. This isn't all natural lighting, certain things like that, so that I can kind of hit the criteria of like, I am capable of a certain level of work. Or I tell a story about, the first image that you see on there as it opens up is a stalk of rice. And so I say, oh, this was, commercial work. I was out in the field with a Digitech and an assistant, small crew, but we were able to get these great images, whatever it is, I want to make sure I'm conveying my professionalism and ability also. So not just talking about the work, but how I make it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's smart. I think, and you're so right to allow those moments of silence. Those are okay. I feel like, I have had reviews where the photographers want to give me a story about every single image, and that gets annoying really fast. So allow that silence to happen. If you feel like it's going too long, maybe just jump in on an image and say something about your process of getting it or who it was for. I think it's great to also mention other clients that you've worked for to let your reviewer know your level of experience. And then anything that you can relay about a shoot that tells the reviewer a little bit more about your personality or your process. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
No, I think that was great. I always appreciate going through this. It's so funny. I think that I get a little bit better at it and then I feel the jitters again.
Yeah.
So it's just good to get used to that.
Right. Absolutely. And another thing that I think is interesting for photographers to know is that there's probably a 50-50 chance that the person who's reviewing you is also very nervous. I mean, the reviewers get that imposter syndrome too. Like, who am I to be telling this person about their work? So, if that helps calm you down a little bit, that's
Yeah.
something else to think about.
And, it doesn't, if there are little bloopers in the beginning, that almost makes me feel better, because then there's this small little, like chit chat that can happen. Like, oh, how do I share this again? A lot of the reviewers I've worked with maybe aren't as familiar with how to share screens. So that sort of thing ends up making me feel like more connected to the person,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps my nerves go down a little bit just to have something small to talk about and to work
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. Makes it more human. Do you
Yeah.
have any other questions for me?
No, I think that was great. I really appreciate your feedback.
Well, I think you did a fantastic job again. I think you're ready for Food and Wine and Whole Foods and Sevier and every magazine you could think of. And again, I love that you can go from farm to table, and you can tell that you can really relate to that. And I really love at the beginning how you said that you were a farmer, and that's something that makes you stand out, that makes you so unique. So if any photographers have something like that they can share how they relate to their subject, I think that's great. Amy, good luck with your reviews.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Amy.
Yeah, thank you so much.